Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all for joining His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj's daily class. Today we are continuing with the Srimad Bhagavatam series of first canto, 17th chapter, verse number 21. And we are in interesting topic here. Hare Krishna Maharaj, my humble obeisances to you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You can please take over, Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association for all of us.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sutta Uvacha Evam Dharme Pavadati Samrayas Sa Samradivya Sattamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikyeda Paryakastatam. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, O best of the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied, and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. Purport. The statement of the bull, the personality of religion, was full of philosophy and knowledge, and the king was satisfied. Since he could understand the suffering bull was not an ordinary one. Unless one is perfectly conversant with the law of the Supreme Lord, one cannot speak such things touching philosophical truths. The emperor, being also on a equal level of sagacity, replied to the point without doubts or mistakes. Gyantamidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasa Sunyavari Pastyatya Deva Satanamas Vanchikaupa Pirudischa Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patikanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Dviya Dvaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So now, after hearing from the personality of religion in the form of a bull, who was discovered by Maharaj Parikshit as being beaten by a low-class man, who was now 3 of his legs were destroyed and he's standing on 1 leg, the king is concerned and he speaks that no one can, influence or cause harm to innocent people in my kingdom without me chastising the mischievous doer or the wrongdoer. He spoke slowly, and then he asked the bull, who is the cause? What is the cause of your suffering? Who has done this? The bull doesn't give direct statements. He speaks in the general sense that about the cause of suffering. And he says that there are many philosophers, religionists, others who give different definitions of what is the cause of suffering. And then he states these different philosophical teachings. And over the last 3 or 4 verses, we're hearing some of the conjectures, ideas, ways that people consider suffering coming through province, through one's own mind and body, through one's activities, by way of previous karma. So all of these things are being said. And so the king, he is listening to all this. Now the bull stops. Sutta Goswami brings in the narration. And he said, now he's making a point. Hearing everything and being fully satisfied, Maharaj Parikshit gives his reply. And the reply is the next verse, and I think we should go on to the next verse because it's the foundation by which everything becomes clear in terms of the questions and answers given by Maharaj Parikshit about suffering and the bull's answer.
So you want to go to the next verse, Maharaj? Oh,
Yeah, verse number 22.
yes, ma'am.
And the king replies, this is the conclusion of our discussion, so please pay strict attention to that. Those of you who've been following along will be amazed to hear what is being said. Rajovacha dharma bhavishya dharma gya dharma sri viksa rupadrik yad adharma kritam stanam suchakasya pitad bhavet. And he says, the king says, "O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are none other than the personality of religion." I'll read it again. Try to listen carefully. "Oh, you in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion. You are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. You are no other than the personality of religion." Purport. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or a mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In the case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. But in the case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. This is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. That's a powerful verse. Statement. Thus, for the devotee, the identifier, one who identifies the sinner, is equally responsible, just like the mischief monger. Both by God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no longer other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and the bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Godhead, although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. So here we see the explanation. So when a person is apparently put into a situation of difficulty, and it becomes apparent that there is a person who is bringing about that difficulty, whether it's a friend, a relative, or someone else, they never blame the person, because they see that that person who is bringing them difficulty is simply an instrument for what they are about to receive. So that person who is the mischief monger, he is just being placed in that situation as a representative or a messenger to give one what they deserve according to the laws of God, according to the laws of nature. But therefore, devotee sees, as it's explained here, they don't see that that person is the cause of their suffering. They believe it's being orchestrated by higher authority for their own purification, for their own education too, and for their own, what we say, some reaction for something that has happened in the past that they may not be able to recall. So this is an interesting point here in the conclusion of the discussion of who is the actual cause of one's suffering. It's not necessarily, or is not the person who's actually delivering it. It's just like you might say, when the post office sends you a check coming from a friend, that mailman who delivers the check is not the person who is actually the source of the check. He's just the messenger, that's all. And you accept the check coming from a friend through the agency of the post office, and the mailman working for the post office you thank him, but you don't think he was the one to give me the check. He's just a man. So in the same way, when suffering causes, or even happiness comes, one does not necessarily see that the instrument as being the source of what is happening. They see it as being God sent through these different agents, whether it comes by material nature, whether it comes by a certain living entity, it comes by one's own, what we say, when there's no one else involved, by one's own activities. And it's interesting to note, because this is very important, if one blames that person for whatever's happening to oneself, they also get a reaction on the same level as the person who's doing it. Because the person who's put into that situation to cause you some difficulty, that is also their karma. They're being placed by material energy to do that, and therefore they're an instrument for their own suffering given by material nature, and not the source. So when we blame someone, oh, that person caused me suffering, we also are in the wrong consciousness, because that person's simply a messenger, an instrument, a medium by which the suffering, or enjoyment too, is being transported to us. And this is a very heavy statement because and Maharaj Pariksha makes it. He says, you are no other than the personality. No one could think and speak like you, because these are finer intricacies of the laws of karma that no one else would know. Only a personality who is actually the source or the author of religious principles could actually understand the intricacies of such finer elements of transformation. And it's interesting to know that if we blame someone for doing something to us, then we also get a reaction for blaming that particular person on the same level that that person who is committing the offense against us, they are also an instrument. So as Prabhupada said here, either gain or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In case of benefit, no one denies it's God sent, but people become doubtful when it's something difficult. How could God allow that to happen? And then and so it says here, no, one should never become blame the mischief monger. And then you might say, well, if a person is committing a crime, does that mean he shouldn't be punished? No. If a person is committing offense, they'll get punished. If a person is committing a crime, they'll be punished by the laws of nature, by the laws of the state. Yeah. But that's part of their own activities, which is based on their desire to perform that activity. So they're put in that position and they affect others who ultimately were implicated in the same activity, but at the same time not to blame. It's really interesting when you, so one should be very aware that whatever is happening to you as a devotee is God sent. And the devotee will think, oh, Krishna's put me into this difficult situation. What can I learn from it? How can I benefit from it? How can I take more shelter of Krishna and such? And all of these things that are allowed by Krishna, as we were describing it in the previous day, that Krishna is the permitter. He allows things to happen to his devotee, which apparently is inauspicious for the devotee, apparently, but actually in the long run, it's auspicious. When someone asks Srila Prabhupada, does every cloud have a silver lining? This is a euphemistic statement about a message that when a cloud represents something inauspicious, a silver lining means that eventually it'll turn into something auspicious. Does every cloud have a silver lining? And Prabhupada said no. And what he meant by saying no is that for a devotee, yes. For a non-devotee, no. For the non-devotee, a cloud is a cloud and it leads to more inauspiciousness. But for the devotee, he sees that, hey, Krishna's teaching me something. I'm going to benefit from this. I'm going to learn from this. I have some punishment coming my way. Te nukampam sukshamikshamanam pujaneva kritam vipakam vidvafa habir vidadanamaste jiventiyo mukti padesha dayavak. This verse is spoken by Lord Brahma in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse number 8, where he really describes that a devotee accepts reverses in life as the mercy of the Lord in order to purify them and to move them forward on the path of bhakti. A person who is not so intelligent, who is maybe just practicing devotional service to gain some material, is there to get some material gain, can never see like that. They will see loss and gain in the way it comes. The devotee doesn't see it like that. Radhanath Swami Maharaj tells about how he was, before he became a devotee, he was traveling in India, going from ashram to ashram, place to place, living on the banks of the Ganges. And he was meeting different sadhus, and also he was getting different books. And he was interested in reading all of the different books he was getting. So it was difficult for him to travel. And so the books were building up. But he would look at the books and he would think, oh boy, this book is interesting. I don't want to give it up. I haven't read this one yet. And so he could never come to the conclusion of leaving some of his books behind. But at the same time, it was very difficult for him to travel. He tells the story. So one day, when he went to sleep on the banks of the Holy River, when he woke up, his books were gone. Somebody had stolen all his books. And at first, he thought, oh my God, all my books are gone. But then he thought, well, now I can travel. Now it's easy to travel. And he felt a sense of happiness now that it became more natural, more easier for him to travel. So here's an example of how we might see something as inauspicious, but again, it turns around to be something beneficial. Because that is the way of how material energy works. But for a devotee, everything, because Krishna takes care of his devotees. We have to understand that. So Krishna allows some suffering to come upon the devotee. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And the reason is, again, as we mentioned, to bring the devotee closer to him in devotional service. But that takes some intelligence. That takes some introspection. That may also take advice from higher authorities to understand how one can benefit from a apparent reverse in one's life. Because on another level, and this is also very important, that material loss and material gain are the same because they're material. We gain things and we're happy. We lose things and we're unhappy. But that's the way of material nature. Material nature gives or allows us to have something for some time, whether it's friends, relatives, or possessions, or even our own health. And after some times, it's taken away by situation. And then it becomes we see things differently. But a devotee doesn't care, doesn't see. But the point is, the devotee has to make Krishna their actual treasure in life. As we make Krishna our most important thing in life, then whatever happens around us has really no much effect about us, because we have something higher, we have something better. We have our relationship with Krishna. We're finding the satisfaction and happiness in that relationship, and not so much in the things that we have or don't have, or the things that we do or don't do. It's all about our relationship with Krishna. So for a neophyte devotee, or one who is just practicing in the beginning, loss and gain becomes very difficult for them to accept. But for a devotee who is fixed in Krishna consciousness, that's why it says here, what did you say? You know the truth of religion. And so there is a truth that is deeper than the external explanations that are given, that is required. And that truth is our relationship with Krishna. And whatever's happening in our life, it's meant to bring us closer in our relationship with Krishna. If we know how to understand it and use it in that way. And therefore, a devotee is never in a marginal or difficult situation, even if it apparently is like that. There is something there that they can gain from. Just like one devotee was telling me, uh, he was spending so much time on his computer doing various type of administration work. He had some position in the society, and he wasn't reading Prabhupada's books. And he was feeling a little bit unhappy because he couldn't find the time to read the books. And then one day his computer crashed. And he thought, oh, wow, now I can read the books. So these are just small examples like that. Sometimes a person will lose their health, but in that poor health, they will call out to Krishna with feeling and love and depend more on the mercy of Krishna. And that will bring them closer to Krishna. So they actually take that apparent reverse in their life as an opportunity for greater spiritual advancement, greater spiritual development. So this is an interesting, and here it says that one who blames the instrument, and Prabhupada used to say that also, don't be, don't be disturbed by the instrument of your karma. Don't be disturbed by the interested. He said, one who is actually wise is never disturbed by the instrument of their karma. They accept it in that way. And so we have to be very careful not to blame others for what's happening to us. Hiranyakashipu was apparently causing much suffering to his son, Prahlad. But he never blamed his father. He never blamed his father for that, although it was obvious his father was orchestrating the whole thing. He was just blaming the fact that his father was not Krishna conscious, and that was the problem. Okay, so it's an interesting discussion here, and it's an interesting conclusion to this discussion. And then it'll go on in the few upcoming verses to go deeper into the actual cause of one's apparent suffering. Okay, we'll stop there.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful class, and it's an important verse to understand. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions or comments or realizations, you can please go ahead now. And please turn on your cameras if possible. Thank you so much. Maharaj, while others are thinking like whatever, so the devotee, or suppose when we are in a weaker state, like we are not fully, sorry, my voice is not good today. So suppose when we are in a weaker state, like we are not able to understand the Lord's plan and take the sufferings as it is. So at that situation, like we tend to complain, right, Maharaj? So how do handle these type of situations? Like we are not strong enough in devotion and not able to understand Lord's plan.
Initially we may feel like that, and I think even many devotees will immediately act and react based on the situation in front of them. But one starts to think after a while, then one reflects, and one should understand that it's much more than the apparent situation that's in front of you. So just like when you lose a loved one, you cry, you grieve, you feel unhappy. And then that goes on for a little while, but then after some time, you start to understand, well, death comes to everyone, and it was time for that person to go. And you accept it and you move on in your life. You still may miss the person, but it's not like the initial experience when we first receive the news or hear about it. It's the same way that initially we may blame someone or not understand how to benefit from this, or even accuse the person for uh, not understanding my situation. You don't, therefore, you're saying things or doing things to me because you don't understand me. You might also say like that also. And that's, you know, but then there's always some benefit in there. If you reflect and you think about it, you have to see, what can I learn from this situation? Or the first thing you should do is, my dear Lord, why are you putting me in this situation? That would be the first question. My dear Lord, why are you allowing this to happen to me? And then from there, you can start to go deeper into trying to understand more. First, you call out to Krishna. Krishna, why is this happening to me? Why are you putting me in this situation? What can I learn from this? How do I react in this situation? You ask questions instead of immediately responding in the normal way that we always respond, either getting angry or vengeful or sad or whatever. We start thinking, Krishna, why are you doing this to me? Or why are you allowing this to happen? Or what can I learn from it?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah. Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Any devotees, any questions? Raj Prabhu, you raised your hand. You want to go ahead?
Thank you. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all of the devotees. Maharaj, that was we hear that we need to tolerate the suffering and focus on devotional service. But in many instances, there are things that we can do to either reduce or avoid any further suffering in that instance. For example, when one is sick, there's things that we can do to get us better. If somebody's unknowingly harming us or accidentally harming us, and we can like speak to them, and that may stop them from continuing that. So how much should we tolerate, and how much should we try to reduce or avoid the suffering?
That's how much you understand what's happening. When you don't understand what's happening, your tolerance level is less. But practice tolerance, I think Srila Prabhupada's statement says, what did he say? It's about tolerance. It's really a powerful statement. He said, yeah, it's basically related to this, how a person is actually advanced, who learns how to tolerate everything that comes their way. And of course, that's the beginning, and then to initially move forward and gain something from that situation. Life is about learning about Krishna, learning about my relationship with Krishna. moving closer to Krishna in that relationship. So the things that happen to us on a day-to-day level can also be impetus for us to call out to Krishna, to pray to Krishna, to see how our activities can need to be changed. So I guess the answer is, it's up to you to decide based on the situation. There's a foolishness also. For instance, there was one very great philanthropist, and he would preach absolute nonviolence. No matter what happens, he will never act in a violent way. So when he was asked, he always responded, in any case, I will never become violent. So one time, one reporter said, my dear sir, you know, what happens if some mischief person comes and starts to violate your daughter? Yeah, someone like some relatives. What will you do? And then he made his general statement. He said, well, in no situation will I become violent. And then the reporter pushed it. He said, you mean if someone is causing harm to someone like your daughter, you won't do anything? And then he said, well, and he answered in a very indirect way, in no case I will be violent. And the reporter responded, my dear sir, you are violent. You fail to protect those who need protection. And you're in that situation. So that's another point. How we deal with other people when we see others being misused, abused. Try to protect the innocent, such as cows, Brahmins, women, children, old people, all of these persons. If anyone causes harm to them, that person should be immediately punished. And there are people in position to do that, but if that fails, then one should also act in such a way as to try to give protection to these classes of people. Prabhupada talks about that also.
Thank you,
So
Maharaj.
these are the finer aspects of religious principles, and then you have to know how to act. It's not so easy to give an answer. When it comes to ourselves, we can tolerate, we can learn, we can grow, we can take greater shelter of Krishna, pray for his mercy. I mean, I had a personal situation where someone criticized me. Temple president criticized me, but he didn't criticize me directly. He sent a message in the form of a note given by another devotee to give to me about something he felt that I was doing that was disturbing. So my immediate reaction was not so much what he was complaining about, is that he did it through another person. He didn't say anything directly to me. And I was feeling a little bit unhappy because he didn't approach me directly, but just sent a note. But then I started to reflect on what he was trying to tell me. And then I realized, all right, maybe I am causing some inconvenience by what I was doing. It wasn't very serious, a small thing. But still, then I thought, all right, I can learn. Maybe I should stop that. It was something that was done unconsciously on my behalf. And I didn't say anything. I just left it as that. And About 3 months later, I met him, the temple president, together, and we were talking, and he apologized for what he had said in the letter. And I said, I had no problem about what you said. I just felt a little unhappy that you didn't tell me directly. You went through another agency. So, yeah, but my point was that I was able to stop something that really might have been disturbing to others. And I thought, oh, again, there's some benefit for me in that. It was a small thing, really small, but that's an example how we can learn when someone criticizes us or finds fault with us. Sometimes we want to immediately react. Think about what they're saying and think about maybe what you can learn from what they're trying to say to you also. If you have a false ego, that thing's gonna jump into action and start defending itself. But if you want to learn and you want to grow in Krishna consciousness, you can see, well, this may be beneficial.
Thank you,
Thank
Maharaj.
you,
Thank you
Maharaj.
so much. Maharaj, yeah, we hear many times about false ego, but it's very difficult to curb that or overcome that state. Practically, I feel that it's impossible sometimes. So, how to be strong in that, Maharaj? Like, as you said, like we have to think about that and don't let our false ego come. So, in the situations, so.
Well, first we have to be able to recognize the false ego is so subtle that the person who has it can't even see it. Most of us can't even see our own false ego. That's how it's acting. But another person can see it. That's why married life is good in that sense. You can help get rid of each other and get rid of your false ego. Or if you have a close friend, it's also very good. But no way, I would suggest you read Bhakti Tirtha Swami's book, The Beggar. He did a series of books called The Beggar, Beggar 1, Beggar 2, Beggar 3, Beggar 4. Beggar 4 is all about false ego.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Yeah. The devotees, any questions or comments? This is such an interesting topic. Please go ahead if you have any questions. Sri Devi Mataji, please.
Thank you, Srimati. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, Guru Maharaj, just as Srimati was saying, when something happens to us, it's very hard for us to think beyond our own limited sphere of knowledge and understanding. So, when something happens, especially those of us spirit souls in female bodies, the first thing we do is pick up the phone and talk to someone. So talking to someone can actually aggravate the situation because that person might say, oh really, oh this is so bad, and so on and so on. So
You're
is it
talking,
better to just hold off and just
you're talking
pray?
to the right person.
Huh?
It's not wrong to talk to someone. You have to talk to the right person, not the wrong person.
Ah.
There's better persons who you know, who have some knowledge, who you can trust, and not someone who's going to sympathize with all of your complaints. Someone who's a little bit who's thoughtful will say, well, this is what's happening. But maybe you can see it from them, and I'll give you another way to look at it. But that's good talking, but you have to talk to the right person.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the reminder. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
I-
Mataji.
Was it Nishringa Leela started to write something in the chat?
Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, I'm about to read. Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna, there's a famous verse from 11th canto where Avanti Brahmana says, it is the mind alone that causes happiness and distress and perpetuates the rotation of material life.
Yeah. Yeah, and Prahlad Maharaj told that to his father. When his father was talking about friends and enemies, that you're siding with my enemy. When Prahlad was, speaking devotional service, Hiranyakashipu said, well, he's actually siding with Lord Vishnu, who's my enemy, because Lord Vishnu killed my brother. So Prahlad Maharaj simply responded, my dear father, your own enemy, the only enemy of yours is your mind. We make friends and enemies based on the mind. One day something is nice, next day the same thing is not nice. Mind is always jumping from situation to situation. Therefore, we have to hear from Shastra. We have to hear from Guru. We have to hear from the words of the Acharyas and learn to apply that. The application is devotional service. The hearing is what we should be doing. And we apply it to the situations that we face in life. So being Krishna consciousness means also to understand the finer aspects of relationships, because the most important part of life is relationships. Everything centers around the quality of the relationships we establish, both ultimately with Krishna, with our friends, relatives, family members, people in general. So those who have very good relationships with others usually find life quite nice. But it starts with developing our relationship with Krishna, because Krishna has a relationship with everyone. And that relationship with everyone ultimately is, based on our relationship with Krishna. I've just got to notice that I think I have another class coming up here. Let me see here. Let me see. Yeah, I think I miscalculated the. Let me do something real quick. Just stay online here for a minute. Ananda Vrindavan. One minute. this one. The point is that my class is in a half hour, right?
Yes, it is. I just wanted to check just for
Oh,
make sure.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there in a half hour. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I have another class coming up in a half hour. Yes. So as we develop our relationship with Krishna, we develop our relationship with others, because there's only one way to develop your relationship with Krishna, which expands itself out as the principle of relationship in this world, and that is the relationship of service. Everyone has to serve in some capacity in whatever situation you find yourself in life. Even in the material world, people serve, but people serve with a motivation in order to gain something material or gain some situation to improve their life in one way or the other. So, but the principle is service. So in Krishna consciousness, the principle is to serve Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna. So when we develop that mood, then that starts to expand out in our relationship with others, because everyone is connected with Krishna through the process of, relationship. He is the seed-giving father of all living entities. Everyone is part of him. Everyone is connected with him. And the connection is realized through service, but it's always there even without service. So when we develop our relationship with Krishna through the process of serving Krishna, then we can have proper and what we say meaningful relationships with others also. When that relationship with Krishna is not there, we try to bring about some meaningful relationship based on mutual mutual exchange. You do this, and I do this, and you do this, and I do this, and therefore we're together because we made an agreement based on that. But that's material. In the spiritual relationship, there's no personal desire to serve for the sake of service, because service is the nature of the soul's position, and therefore one who serves the Lord is serving in the perfect position. And that service of the Lord expands itself out to serve others in different relationships based on the quality of that relationship. Such as a parent will serve the children. But what are they serving the children? They're not just giving them some material things like food or clothing or shelter. They're also guiding them in the goal of life. So that's real service. So the whole thing then starts with and develops based on our relationship with Krishna. Then relationships with others become easy and natural. We have to practice in both categories. And it goes on simultaneously. It's not that we don't serve others until we get a relationship with Krishna. No, both are being done simultaneously. As Christ would say, whatever you do to the least in my kingdom, you do unto me also. Whatever you do to the least in my kingdom, you do unto me also. And that's a very powerful statement. How we treat others is a reflection of our relationship with Krishna. And how we relate with Krishna will play itself out in our relationship with others.
So, Maharaj, that means like we are not considering Krishna's position, or like we are not considering Krishna's or a relationship with Krishna seriously, if we are not acting properly with others.
It means we're either in ignorance about the connection, or we just we haven't really understood what it means to develop a relationship with Krishna. Our relationship with Krishna is based on love and based on service. Love, if it's not based on love, or if it's based on duty, duty is all right, but duty may also be challenged by situations. Love doesn't have any question of situation. It will serve in any situation.
Mm.
We try to love Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah.
Love is there. It's not like you're bringing it from the outside. You just have to bring it out. It's within you. That love is there. And that's easy because Krishna is lovable.
Mm.
We have to love someone in this world. We have to somehow overlook all of their anarthas, bad qualities, and whatever else may interfere with our natural attraction. Krishna is easy. He's beautiful. He's powerful. He's kind. He's wealthy. He has all good qualities. And the point is, he's compassionate. He's not like in the material world, a person has all of these good qualities, but they're proud and they're arrogant and they push other people down to get a better position in their life. That's not like that. Krishna's kind. Kind means he knows what's beneficial for each and everyone according to the situation and the person. And he works to bring that person closer to him. And therefore, we have to stay in touch with that knowledge through the spiritual master, through the books. Or when we get a little advanced, then Krishna speaks to you directly. And he tells you things directly. You know, why are you wasting time with this? Do this instead.
Yes, Maharaj, yeah. Thank you so much. Dear devotees, any questions? Today, everyone is very silent. Nobody is asking. Maharaj, I have one more last question. So when we suppose some situations we blame ourselves, like it should not have happened like this, I should have done like this. We blame ourselves and go into a guilty mode, where we feel very bad all the time, and negativity will come into our mind and we feel low. So in that situations, how to handle those type of situations, and is it correct way to blame ourselves, or what is it?
Don't blame yourself, blame your mind. The mind is the cause of the trouble, not you.
But we are still not in a level of discriminating both mind and soul differently. So that's the main problem.
If you're not on that level, that means you're an illusion then.
Yeah.
You have to understand what the mind says is not necessarily what the soul is. What Krishna is telling you in the heart.
Yeah.
He tells you, remember me. And if you forget him and then do something stupid, it's because you didn't listen to him. Because that's all. If you remember Krishna, usually you do everything becomes nice.
Mhm. That's true.
It's
Yes,
like
Maharaj.
that, always remember me. We should practice that. We should be thinking Am I remembering Krishna now? Oh, no. Okay, let me remember Krishna.
I think I should put an alarm for that too. Maharaj.
You can
Constant
you can
reminders.
make signs and put it on your wall.
Yeah.
Krishna says, remember me. Or put another sign on the wall, stop listening to your mind.
Thank you so much. Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, Srimati. Guru Maharaj, tomorrow is Bhakti Tita Maharaj's Vyasa Puja, and I'm remembering what tremendous amount of physical pain and suffering Maharaj was going through, but his consciousness was completely transcendental, and he was on a different plane altogether. Now, to reach that very, very exalted stage where you're completely above bodily pains, pleasures, etc., that means a lot of practice is required to reach that point. So, what are the practical steps? Just like this class, of course, we are listening, we are learning. When suffering does come, how can we practice transcending it?
When you realize it's not happening to you, it's happening to your body. Like a pain will come, you'll say, oh, yeah, that's not happening to me, it's happening to my body. Anyway, because I'm in the body, I feel some sensation. Happening to the mind, happening to the body, not happening to you. Practice that one. What can you do? There's people who, when pain comes or something, they get so unhappy. Their unhappiness only causes the pain to be more. That's so they add pain to pain. Like sometimes you'll feel some pain and you'll say, that's pain. Or maybe it's not pain, maybe it's pleasure. I think it's pain, but maybe it's pleasure. Or you get some pleasure and you think, maybe it's actually pain. It's pretty much the same. It's all it is. Because it has nothing to do with you. Nothing. You're in the body, that's all. The body's going through these different, and you can expect the body to go through these things because that's the nature. As time goes on, the body starts to deteriorate more. Okay, so we'll take one more question. Oh, we got two more. Let's take, because I have a class coming up in about 20 minutes, but we can take two more questions.
Yes,
We got,
Maharaj.
oh my God.
Samvedata Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for lecture. It's about the pain. I'm used through life, had many pains. I'm used to this, but I was, and I'm still angry because of this pain and weakness of my body. I couldn't be so active. This is problem. Because I have to lie, because I have to sleep, and this disturbed me.
Nobody wants
do.
it. Yeah, we don't want it. But
This is,
we have to be less active because Krishna is telling us, you can't continue in that way. You might have to continue in another way. That's all.
Yeah.
But for devotee, no material impediment can block their progress in devotional service. We're attached. We want to do things, and the pain is causing it difficult, making it impossible or difficult. So do something else. Read.
Yeah, it's difficult to read, difficult chant, difficult.
Yeah.
All try. Only patient and tolerate, and and hope that it will pass.
Yeah. It'll pass.
Yeah.
Raj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Has
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. It's only a quick one, a comment. Some time ago, we were in the Sangha with Swami Bhagwan Keshava Maharaj, and devotees were asking, but how can we not be disturbed so much by the suffering, and how can we love Krishna more? And he gave us a tip, and he said, start your day in your chanting, be as attentive as you possibly can, hear as strongly as you possibly can, chant with as much love as you can. And if you can do that, then your day will go well with being able to withstand and tolerate what hits you during the day, and you'll be able to remember Krishna more.
Yeah, perfect. Everything is there in that statement. The more you go to transcendence, the less you are affected by the effects of the modes of material energy. Revati.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Yeah, thank you very much for this series on cause of suffering. I was just thinking, like, so to understand, like, suffering means it's just mind. We are happy means we are connected to Krishna. So we should understand like that, Guru Maharaj. Like every day we fight with the mind. So anything suffering means it's through mind only. It's not like
Krishna says in the Gita, the mind is the enemy and the friend. He says the mind is the best friend or the worst enemy. So make your mind a friend instead of an enemy. Put Krishna in your mind.
yeah. So every time we have to think like, okay, we are suffering means it's mine. It's not like, you. You should think. Yeah.
Prabhupada used to say, you have to think of something. Why not think of Krishna?
Mhm. Yeah.
You think of Krishna, even if there is some suffering, it's somehow or other tolerable. And sometimes it goes away. Prabhupada used to tell us, when you're sick, just chant. He said, after some time, you'll feel better. That's true.
Mhm. So when we practice, our sadhana, when it becomes strong, like slowly, like will we still like not be affected by the mind, Guru Maharaj? Like how long it takes, like we are really still working hard towards it, like.
It's a process. You know, if you read the Bhagavatam, you'll see it sometimes takes many years and even lifetimes to become fully Krishna conscious. But now you're on the path. So now you're good. You know which way to go, and you got all of the ingredients by which you can make progress on the path. Now to stay and work in that way.
Mhm.
And after some time, you'll start to experience different levels of relief from the material energy. Things will not bother you so much.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, definitely we are seeing a lot of improvement, but still, like we need to take one more step. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, don't take one step, take many.
Yeah. And about the desire, I have one question, Guru Maharaj. Like, as you said, like in the previous classes, if you have a desire, it comes into action. sometimes we see like we have some desires, but it's not coming into action. So what is the cause that, for desire not to coming into action? What is that
You mean material desire or spiritual?
desires, spiritual desires?
I just pray. Yeah, you want to do something, you want to preach, or you want to actually make a difference. You have to pray, and then by prayer, you'll become more and more aware of how you need to do things. Krishna will work with you within your heart and guide you. You're praying.
Yes, Guruji. Thank you. Thank you very much, Guruji. Yeah, definitely I need your blessings. Yeah. I think.
My obeisances to all the devotees from Shikalpa.
Thank you so much.
We hope to see you all tomorrow for the continuation of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes,
Here.
Maharaj.
Thank you very much for today class.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dear devotees, I posted the link for the next class of Maharaj for Bhaktitirtha Maharaj's Vyasa Puja festival. So please join if you are free. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I won't be available on Monday.
Yes, Maharaj.
Monday, I won't be able to give class on Monday. But after that, classes should be able to go on to this Monday.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear.